Hi everyone to another 3D CG training video. My name's Gavin. A lot of you will know me as Gavin B from CG Talk, and all we're going to be doing in this video is just taking a very quick brush up on the render effects and just look at creating a different type of effect. In the previous video we looked at adjusting the hue and saturation of an image. In this one basically we were going to take a rendered image and actually making it appear to be a negative image. If we just go ahead and render out this scene in here, you'll just get a feel for what it looks like at the moment. Let's pop that over there and render. Okay, you see it's got a gradient background and then just these different coloured spheres in there. So we'll just close down both of these for now. What we'll do is go through and start a new script. Just adjust the size of this window a bit. And firstly, obviously, rather than just jumping and copying all the code from the previous one, we'll just go through creating it again, just again to help anyone that hasn't done it via the first video or just needs to brush up. So we start off by using the plugin command to tell Maxscript that we're going to be actually creating a plugin object, and then we need to tell it what type. So this again is going to be a render effect. It's going to be called neg effect. So this is the name of the plugin. We'll then give it an actual name property. This one is what it will be identified as when you add it into the effects dialog. The name that we put here is what you'll see. So we'll actually call it neg effect. And then the next option is the class ID. So if you remember, we start that off with a hash, then an open bracket, and then there's a closed bracket, and in here we need to put the class ID. Now to get the class ID, we come down, open the listener window, and we use gen class ID, open and close brackets, and there is our unique class ID for this plugin. So if we just come and paste that in there, and then we'll start a new line. We'll do what we always do, open and close brackets. We don't need to add a rollout to this plugin, but we will anyway. So we'll just do rollout info roll, because all this rollout will contain is literally just a short caption, and we'll give it a caption of information. And again, we'll open and close brackets like we always do. And in here, we're literally just going to chuck a label control called IL for info label, and we'll give it a caption of neg effect test for 3dscg.co.uk, and that's the whole of the rollout done. What we now need to do is the actual processing of the image, and if you again can remember rightly, we need to set up a progress callback, adjust the options of the progress callback just so it will update the actual dialog box as we go through each pixel of the image. So we'll start off by using the on apply. We then pass a variable that the image will be stored in, the final rendered image will be stored in, so we'll just call this RIMG for rendered image, and then progress callback and do. So this part of the program basically is set up so we're telling 3D Studio Max that when we're going to apply the actual render effect to this image, we need to start up a new progress callback, and when we're doing this, applying the filter, we need to do this following block of code in these brackets. Okay, so the first thing that we'll do is actually set the caption for the progress bar, which will be caption. Sorry, yeah, we'll do just neg effect. So as the image is being once the image has been rendered, sorry, we'll get to the the render effect being processed, and while it's being processed we'll get neg effect written just above the render dialog. Okay, what we'll do then is do the for loops to actually start processing across and down the image. So the first one that we'll do is the one that goes downwards in the image, so we'll start off with for, and this will be y. Again, we'll be working in kind of a table reference, so x is across, y is down. So for y equals 0 to it will be RIMG dot height minus 1 do. So again, we've got the minus 1 because we're working from 0. For instance, if it was a 640 by 480 image, we'll be working from 0 to 479, not 1 to 480. Okay, so it's minus 1. And in here, what we need to then do is just set up a test just to make sure whether we finished the rendered image or not, and if we have, then we need to exit out. But also we'll use this test statement just to update the progress bar as well. So we'll do if progress, oh, I've actually spelled that wrong, progress cb dot progress, and then the next two options on here, if you remember from the first video, are the actual current value of what we want to do. So for instance, we're going to be working out how far we've got down. 0 in the y direction will be 0% on the progress bar. 479 will be 100%. So this is the current value that we want to test, and then we need to put the actual total value. So that will be RIMG dot height minus 1, then exit. So if we're actually at 100%, then we'll just exit and say this will literally work out if that is 100%. so if that value there total is 100%, then we'll work out what y is of that value to give us an exact percentage of where we need to be now. Okay, so then what we need to do is get a whole line of pixels. So we'll just get a whole row of the rendered image, and we'll do that by saying img line equals get pixels, and then we need to tell it that we actually want to get the pixels from our img, so we want to get it from that image, and then we need to tell it how far across we want to go. So sorry, we need to tell it first even what row we actually want to get. So it's always going to be starting off at 0, which will be on the far left hand side of the image, and we want to get the row y. So this will tell it that we want to start for the far left hand side, but we want to work our way down to this row. And obviously every frame that is rendered, every line that is rendered, every time this is run, this y value will increase by 1. We then need to tell it how wide the image is, so we'll just do RIMG dot width. Okay, so that's going to get a whole row of pixels from this image at this destination, and it will get this many pixels across. What we then need to do is start working across that row of pixels. So we'll do for x equals 1 to RIMG dot width do. So we're starting off the next loop saying that we want to work from 1 this time across to, say for instance, 640. And now we need to tell it what we want to do. So this is really the part where we actually work out how the effect will work. And the way that we're actually going to work it out for the negative is kind of a pseudo negative effect. What we're going to do is take the highest value that a pixel possibly could be, which will be 255 in RGB format. Obviously going from 0 to 255 gives us 256 colours. That'll be for the red, green and blue each. So we'll say okay, 255 is the highest. So we'll then take away the current value of the pixel that we're working on. So if we say that CPR, so current pixels red, equals IMG line, we can then specify a pixel in that line, so X. So that tells it we want to take the pixel across by X. So if X was 10, we'd take pixel 10 in the line of pixels. Dot R, so we want to get the red value of it. But what we need to do is work out the negative side of it. So we'll start off with 255, and then minus the current red value from it. And if we just copy that whole line, and we'll do the same, just adjust the values then for the red, green and blue, for the green and blue. So this will become G, this will become B, this here will become G, this here will become B. So at the moment we're just getting the R, G and B values, taking them away from 255, and we'll the CPR, CPG and CPB will store that value. Okay, and then what we then need to do is set the pixel that we've just got here, these pixels, we need to then set it back to this new colour. So we'll then do IMG line X, so we're again working on the current pixel across, whichever the X loop has currently picked out, equals colour. So we're telling it that we're actually working the following values are going to be colours, and then we've got CPR, CPG and CPB. These are just the values that the colour command actually accept. And then we've got an alpha, so we'll just use whatever the alpha was anyway. So we'll do our IMG line X dot alpha. So we're not changing the alpha value at all, we're just popping the alpha value back out. What we then need to do is, after this loop, we'll apply this row of pixels back, and we do that with set pixels on RIMG, and again we need to specify where we're applying these, so it's going to be 0 by Y, the same as when we got the pixel row. And then we need to tell it that we want to apply IMG line back to the actual final rendered image. So we take the whole row of pixels here, and we set it back here after adjusting each of the pixels here. Okay, so that should really be all we need to add in there. So if we file and evaluate all, oh, I've got one too many brackets in there by the looks of it. I've actually used rollout instead of rollout. File, evaluate, render, effects, add, and down here now we see neg effect, so neg effect test for 3dscg.co.uk. So let's go ahead and just do a quick test on this then for render. Okay, and when we render the image, we should see, if I just drag this over here, the progress bar being applied, and at the end of it we get this negative effect. Okay, so again we can just apply some more colours in there, and we'll just test it again. Oh, and here we go, see the negative effect being applied. And when I pop it back up, you see it's pretty much basically just inverted everything, because before we applied the negative effect, the gradient in the background went from black to white. It now goes from white to black. So it really is just inverting all of the colours as we go along. Okay, so that was just another short Maxscript test for render effects. I hope somebody finds it useful. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Thanks, then.